The air in the meeting room was heavy, dense like the smoke from an expensive cigar, but without the smell. There was no smoke, just the smell of despair and the cold sweat that ran down the foreheads of men in suits. One of them, wearing a watch worth more than many people's homes, tapped his finger on the polished wooden table, the sound echoing in the tense silence. His eyes, once full of confidence, were now wide, fixed on the woman in front of him. She, in her blue and white uniform, yellow gloves on her hands and a blue cloth in each, seemed oblivious to the drama unfolding. Her lips, painted a vibrant red, formed an almost imperceptible smile, while the men, in their impeccable suits, watched her with a mixture of shock and disbelief. One of them further back had his mouth open, as if he had just seen a ghost. The scene was a painting, a photograph of a moment no one there expected, a moment that would change everything. What was a simple cleaner doing in the middle of a high-level business meeting, and why did those men, accustomed to having the world at their feet, seem so lost? Now, I'm going to ask you to click subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories like this. The city of Greenwich, Connecticut was a place where money didn't speak, it whispered. It whispered in mansions hidden by tall hedges, in luxury cars that glided silently through tree-lined streets, and in jewelry that sparkled discreetly on the wrists and necks of its residents. It was a world of appearances, where every detail, from the cut of the suit to the brand of coffee, was a sign of status. And at the center of this universe of wealth was the Sterling and Finch building, an investment firm that dealt with fortunes most people couldn't even imagine. It was there, on the top floor, in a meeting room overlooking the bay, that a man named Caleb's life was about to be turned upside down. Caleb Sterling, one of the founders of Sterling and Finch, was a man who built his empire with intelligence and a healthy dose of ambition. His graying hair and penetrating gaze were marks of years of battles in the business world. He was known for his unshakable calm, his ability to solve any problem, no matter how big. But that day, Caleb's calm had disappeared. The meeting was crucial. A group of foreign investors from a distant country were there to close a deal worth billions, a deal that, if completed, would elevate Sterling and Finch to a new level, consolidating its place among the largest in the world. The meeting table, made of solid mahogany, was covered with documents, graphs, and bottles of imported mineral water. The investors, serious men with suspicious looks, spoke in their native language, and communication was done through a translator, a thin, nervous young man who seemed to sweat more with each passing minute. The problem began when the translator, in the middle of a complex sentence about contractual clauses and interest rates, choked. His eyes widened, he coughed, and, to everyone's horror, fainted, falling sideways in his chair. A murmur of panic spread through the room. The investors, not understanding what was happening, began to speak louder, their voices mixing in a chorus of incomprehension. Caleb, who had never felt so powerless in his life, tried to maintain his composure. He looked at his partners, at the other executives, but everyone had the same desperate expression. There was no other translator available. The deal, which was one step away from being closed, seemed about to collapse. Time passed, and the tension in the room increased with each second. The impatient investors began to stand up, to pick up their folders, ready to leave. Caleb felt cold sweat run down his neck. Years of work, of sacrifices, everything could go down the drain because of an unforeseen event. He tried to communicate with gestures, with loose words in English, but it was useless. The language barrier was insurmountable. It was then that a soft but firm voice cut through the air. "Excuse me, gentlemen," the voice said. Everyone turned to the door. It was the cleaner, a woman with brown hair and light eyes, who was there for routine cleaning. She wore the cleaning company's standard uniform, a blue and white top and pants set, with yellow gloves on her hands and a blue cloth in each. Her name was Anya. Anya was not a person who usually meddled in other people's affairs, but the scene she saw was pure chaos. She observed the despair in Caleb's eyes, the impatience of the investors, and something inside her, a flame she thought had long been extinguished, ignited. Anya was not an ordinary cleaner. She had a story, a life that most people there would never imagine. But at that moment, she was just the woman with the cleaning cloth, the intruder in a world of high-level business. Caleb, surprised by the interruption, looked at Anya with a mixture of confusion and irritation. "Yes, Anya?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "I can help, Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice still soft, but with a determination that surprised everyone. "I speak their language." A heavy silence fell over the room. The executives exchanged glances, some with sneers, others with disbelief. A cleaner, speaking the investors' language. It was absurd. Caleb, however, saw a sparkle in Anya's eyes, something that made him hesitate. He was desperate. He had nothing to lose. "Are you sure, Anya?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. "Absolutely, Mr. Sterling," she replied with a slight nod. The investors, who had stopped moving, watched the scene with curiosity. They didn't understand the words, but the tension in the air was palpable. Caleb made a decision, a risky decision, perhaps even crazy, but the only one he had left. "All right, Anya," he said, gesturing to the fainted translator's chair. "Please." Anya approached the table, put the cloths aside, and took off her gloves. Her movements were calm, precise. She sat in the chair, looked at the investors, and to everyone's surprise, began to speak. Her voice now was different. It was no longer the soft voice of the cleaner, but the voice of someone who mastered the language, who understood the nuances, the subtleties. The investors, who had been impatient, now listened attentively, their faces lighting up with understanding. The meeting, which seemed lost, had been given a new chance, and all because of a cleaner. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where the least expected person was your salvation? Share your story in the comments. Anya began to translate, and the meeting room was transformed. The words flowed from her with impressive naturalness, as if she had been born speaking that language. She not only translated the words, but also the tone, the intention, the emotion behind each phrase. The investors, previously closed off and suspicious, began to relax. They asked questions, and Anya answered with clarity and precision, explaining complex financial terms in a way that everyone understood. Caleb and his partners watched, open-mouthed. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. That woman whom they saw every day cleaning the corridors was a true polyglot. She spoke with the same ease about stocks, bonds, and investment funds as she spoke about the cleaning products she used. The meeting lasted for hours, and Anya showed no signs of fatigue. She was the bridge between two worlds, the key that opened the doors to a billion-dollar deal. In the end, the contract was signed. The investors shook hands with Caleb and his partners, smiling and thanking them. They were satisfied, and all the credit went to Anya. Caleb, still in shock, looked at Anya with new admiration. He had never imagined that the person who cleaned his office could be so fundamental to the success of his company. After the investors left, the meeting room was silent again. Caleb approached Anya, who was putting away her cleaning cloths. "Anya," he said, his voice full of gratitude, "I don't know how to thank you. You saved our business." Anya smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her face. "I just did what I could, Mr. Sterling," she replied humbly. "But I need to know," Caleb continued, "how did you learn to speak that language? And why are you working as a cleaner?" Anya hesitated for a moment. It was a long story, a story of losses, of new beginnings, of postponed dreams. She looked into Caleb's curious eyes, at the surprised faces of the other executives. It was time to tell the truth. "I'm not just a cleaner, Mr. Sterling," she began. "I'm a former diplomat. I worked for my country for many years, traveling the world, negotiating important agreements. I spoke 5 languages fluently, and that was my passion." A murmur of astonishment ran through the room. A diplomat? Working as a cleaner? It was unbelievable. Anya continued her story, her voice filled with emotion. "I had a good life, a promising career. But then, tragedy struck. My husband, who was also a diplomat, was killed in a car accident. I lost everything. My home, my savings, my will to live. I found myself alone, with nothing in a foreign country. I tried to start over, but it was difficult. No one wanted to hire a diplomat without experience in other areas. I needed money to survive, to pay my bills, and the only thing I could get was a job as a cleaner. I'm not ashamed of my job, Mr. Sterling. It gave me the chance to start over, to get back on my feet. But I never gave up on my dreams. I kept studying, practicing my languages, waiting for an opportunity. Caleb listened, moved. He saw the strength, the resilience in Anya's eyes. He realized that he had judged a person by their appearance, by their uniform. He had underestimated the power of someone's life story. "Anya," he said, his voice choked, "I'm so sorry for what happened to you, and I'm so sorry I didn't know you before. You are an extraordinary woman." The other executives, who had previously looked at her with disdain, now looked at her with respect. They had witnessed not only an act of heroism, but also a life lesson. Anya's story is a reminder that life can surprise us in many ways. Have you ever had to start from scratch? Tell us your story in the comments. From that day on, Anya's life changed completely. Caleb Sterling, impressed by her intelligence and life story, offered her a position at Sterling and Finch, not as a cleaner, but as an international consultant, using her language skills and negotiation experience. Anya accepted, of course. It was the opportunity she had been waiting for, the chance to go back to doing what she loved. She dedicated herself to the new job with the same passion and commitment she dedicated to cleaning. In a short time, Anya became a fundamental part of the company. Her language skills opened new doors, allowing Sterling and Finch to expand its business into international markets that were previously inaccessible. She traveled the world again, but this time not as a diplomat, but as a successful businesswoman, with a salary that allowed her to recover everything she had lost, and much more. She bought a new house, invested in stocks, and even acquired some discreet but high-value jewelry, which she had only seen on the wrists of Greenwich women before. Anya never forgot her origins, nor the job that helped her get back on her feet. She always treated the cleaning staff with respect and affection, knowing that behind every uniform there was a story, a dream. She became an example, an inspiration for everyone in the company. Her story was told in the corridors, in meetings, and even in business magazine articles. The cleaner who saved $1 billion business. The woman who proved that true wealth is not in money, but in the ability to reinvent oneself, to never give up. Caleb Sterling, in turn, learned a valuable lesson. He realized that a person's worth is not in their position, their clothes, or their bank account. It is in their character, their intelligence, their ability to overcome challenges. He became a champion of diversity and inclusion, encouraging the company to look beyond appearances, to value the potential of each individual. Anya and Caleb's story is a powerful reminder that life is full of twists and turns. Who would have thought that a cleaner could become a successful international consultant? Did this story make you think about something you judged wrong? Leave your comment and share your thoughts. If you liked this emotional story and want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell to not miss any new videos, and be part of our community. Your subscription helps us continue creating stories that touch hearts and inspire. And if this story touched you in any way, leave your like and share it with your friends and family. We want to know what you thought. What was the most surprising part of the story? Do you know anyone with a similar story of overcoming challenges? Leave your comment below. Your opinion is very important to us. If you've made it this far, I've left a story that I'm sure you'll like. It's here on the screen. Just click on this video that's appearing for you. See you there.